to the Nobody Asked Me. We have a fantastic show lined up for you guys tonight. We have Dr. Deborah Fuqua with us, and I may have mispronounced her name, and she will help me out with that. Dr. Fuqua, and I want to share with you guys some of her biographical information here. She has over 20 years experience in the workforce development. Dr. Fuqua is an advocate for human resource development for private and public sector organizations. She's considered an expert in the field of organizational leadership. Great to have an expert with you, huh? I would certainly hope so. She's a frequent speaker at organizations and conferences nationwide, covering topics related to educational leadership, women as leaders, leadership development, employee development, emotional intelligence, diversity and inclusion, effective communication, and other leadership-related topics. Dr. Fuqua teaches, encourages, and motivates others to achieve their personal and professional goals. Now, just to give you a little bit about Dr. Fuqua's academic background, she holds an undergraduate degree in management studies, a graduate degree in human resource development, and her doctorate of management in organizational leadership. So guys, we have an expert with us in the house tonight, and feel free to share. We also have 2 cameras that are available. And if you'd like to come on, and I always call it FaceTime. If you'd like to FaceTime with the doctor or myself, please feel free to do that. Now, also, she is an author, and the name of that book is Secure Your Cape. Now, I need you to write that down, because I know each and every one of you guys are going to go out and purchase a copy of Secure Your Cape. And I can't wait. I'm excited to talk to Dr. Fuqua about this book. As you can see the cover, it's a very beautiful cover. It's a lovely cover, just like the person that's holding it. And anytime you can match academics, the beauty of academics, because I love academics, with a beautiful mind, a beautiful heart, and a beautiful covering, let me put it that way. Hey, you're in for a treat. There's no other. She also co-authored a textbook for colleges and universities across the United States, Cultivating a Culture of Nonviolence in Early Childhood Development Centers and Schools. Dr. Fuqua has appeared as a guest on Second Chance, and hopefully she'll tell us a little bit about what Second Chance is. She has also appeared on the guest of Dr. Vibe. Now, hey, we know Dr. Vibe has a humongous audience, and I know all of you guys have listened to Dr. Vibe and you've watched Dr. Vibe. I'm a regular on Dr. Vibe's Do You Know What Time It Is? As a matter of fact, we had a show last night. So put a little plug in there for Dr. Vibe. Sometime on Sunday nights, if you guys are not busy, jump in there and join us. Also on Saturday mornings, we do Black Men Talking ever so often, and we always put that time up. But Dr. Fuqua is also a certified time to teach trainer, and I'm sure she'll be sharing with us exactly what that is. And we know in your connotative mind, you can figure out from the title what it actually entails, but we have the doctor here with us, so you don't have to blow a fuse. She'll be sharing with us what that's all about. It says clearly classroom management. Now, she's certified in diversity and inclusion, which we'll be talking about tonight. She's a member of the Black Doctoral Network Association, member of the Eastern Educational Research Association, and a member of the National Congress of Black Women Incorporated. I'd like to welcome to our set Dr. Deborah Fuqua. So Dr. Fuqua, if I'm mispronouncing your name, pronounce it for me, and welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. You pronounced my name correctly. It's Fuqua.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And we're very happy to, and again, this is going to be a very canned question. The very first one off the top, we're going to talk about who were the greatest influences in your childhood education pursuits? If you share that with us.
Okay, so when I think about that question, I think of my kindergarten teacher, Miss Price. Was my first teacher, I felt like she was my protector. I can remember falling asleep in my lunch one day, and she came by to lift my face up out of my food, and the other kids were kind of laughing at me, but since that day she just kind of took me under her wing. I mean, I got to walk ahead of the line with her in class. So yeah, she comes to remembrance when I think of a teacher that influenced me.
Okay, it's great, great. I mean, hey, we should all have teachers in our lives like that. I hear you very loudly. Now, if I may ask, did you gravitate toward a particular instructor during your elementary, middle, and high school years? If so, what made them special? Did you have
Well,
a special teacher that you really felt close to, be it elementary, be it middle school, be it high school, even college for that matter?
okay. Other than Miss Price, no. In my elementary and my high school, we didn't have middle school back then. We didn't have middle school. It was just, high school and elementary school. So I didn't have any teachers that I could relate to because basically I was the only Black female in my whole grade. And
Wow.
so I lived in an area where we just didn't have Black teachers. I can remember two, but that was later in my educational years. And so I really can't relate to that because there was no teacher that looked like me. I mean, I didn't look like any of them, so I didn't really get close to any of my teachers.
That's a powerful statement. That as an ex-teacher, ex-principal, all that that's a very powerful statement. And we address that all the time right now. And the question have been asked so many times, do we think integration help or harm, I should say, students of color? And for you to share that you never had a teacher of color, it's like, I'll be very honest with you, that's very shocking because normally in many areas you have at least one, possibly two. But wow, that's very, very, and I'm sure we may come back and readdress that. Now I understand that you were quite the track athlete. Is that correct? Did you involve yourself in track? Is that correct, or did I
That's a
did I
funny
look at
question.
did I look
I
at the
did
wrong
run
information?
track.
Okay,
I ran track, but I ran just enough to get by and not get kicked off the team. I mean, I didn't enjoy track at all. I had an older
okay,
brother that was really good in sports, and he was really good in track. And I had
mhm,
four siblings, so
okay,
I guess he felt like he needed to kind of train us to be athletes as well.
yeah,
And so we had our own little track team because there were, and we were called the Blacksburg Striders. And so my brother, I mean, we would go to practice at school, we would come home and he would have us running. I can remember running on rocks with my bare feet. And
okay,
so I mean, he had us going through training as if we were training for, and so I didn't care for it. I didn't care for track that much. I did it though, but I didn't have a passion for it, let's say that.
okay. And I want to address that because too many times when you do platforms like this, we don't humanize. And I'm very cautious about that. We don't humanize people. We just start talking about educational things and all of that. So we just kind of want to humanize this, kind of loosen things up a little bit. Now we know that many in the world have a tendency to dismiss athletes as legitimate, illegitimate students, more or less. What were your favorite subjects in your pre-college days? And what I mean by that, and I want to clarify myself, especially athletes of color. We are dismissed all of the time and not given credit. And I'm sure your brother was an excellent student. Not given credit for academic prowess as well. And I just wonder, even though you weren't very fond of track, were you more received as an athlete as opposed to a student? I guess that's really the question I'm trying to get at.
Yes, I mean, I play basketball as well. Now, I love basketball.
Okay.
And so I was received well as playing basketball. That was what I was known for. I mean, my senior year, I was the captain of the team. So I enjoy basketball. I'm tall, so that was an automatic thing for me to play basketball.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, as we wade into the waters of diversity, as we wade into the waters of diversity, how much bearing, if any, did being a formally educated minority play in your decision to attend college?
Hmm. Well, repeat that question.
Okay. How much, as we wade into this water of the waters of diversity, did your ability or your fondness of sports weigh heavily on your decision to attend college? Or were there other driving forces, or was this a part of that driving force that interested you in attending college or university?
No, it didn't have any weight on it at all, far as any sports like that. My I'm the middle child. I had two older siblings, and both of them went to college. So that was an automatic thing for me, was to go to college. So all of us went to college. All five of us went to college, and so that was just the thing to do. That was the thing to do.
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. And
And
as you are aware,
that was my parents. My parents.
yeah. Okay, okay. You know, it's interesting that you would share that, and I'm glad you did. And that's because many times children that look like you and I, college is a foreign thought to them. And to hear you say that it was basically a foregone conclusion that you were going to attend college is very refreshing, and people need to hear that, because there are so many stereotypes out there when it involves people of color about whether you're going to go to college, whether or not, etc. And believe it or not, that's a very profound statement. And why is it profound? Because we're talking about diversity, and we're talking about things that happen. So that's I'm happy that you're sharing that. And as we move forward, covering diversity, what would you say actually interested you, got your interest enough that you decided to become a diversity trainer, or to talk about diversity, share diversity, do workshops on diversity?
Okay, well, it was years and years of experience is what led up to that. Because after I've been working in the federal government since 2004. Well, no, I'm sorry, here in Charleston since 2004. I started in 1998. So when I started the federal service, I noticed that leadership training was needed. Because I would see certain things. I worked in personnel office, and I would see people file complaints and grievances. And so, you come to the conclusion after seeing this for so many years that, okay, we need some type of leadership training, some type of a diversity training. And so that's why I kind of fell in the realm of training diversity, training leadership. My
Yeah.
main focus is leadership training. I
Okay.
am part of the Diversity and Inclusion Center with University of Phoenix. It's where we
Hmm.
do research on diversity and inclusion.
Hmm.
But I'm intrigued by the people just learning about diversity, because we're all different. And diversity is not limited to race, gender, sex, religion. It's much more than that. There's so much, it's broader than that. So diverse, I'm tall, okay? Someone may be short. My education is different from someone else's. So there's a lot of diverse situations that you can look at.
You know,
So,
and that's very interesting, because most of us, present company included, when we think initially about diversity, it's always primarily exactly what you just stated, in the realm of about either race in a quote or color unquote. But to share, so if you will, if you kind of share with us, how is leadership and diversity married?
okay, so diversity and leadership married. Well, you could look at it this way. If you have leadership and they have to interact with others on a daily basis, so they're interacting with all different types of people. So they have to know how to lead and guide these people. So in order to close this gap, this bridge, they would need to learn backgrounds of the people. They need to know why people do the things that they do. I believe that leadership, and that goes with having the soft skills as well. They have to have those interpersonal skills to be able to approach people, all types of people. So they have to know how to use those leadership styles, which you mentioned earlier. They have to know which leadership style to use in order to be effective. And to get back to the diversity part of it, we have to know we have to know why people do the things that they do. And I said that a second time for a reason, because if I'm doing something, if I have a certain thing that I do, if I pray 4 times a day, you have to know why I'm leaving my workspace to pray 4 times a day. You have to know why I respond a certain way to you. And that's our makeup. That's how we made up. So leadership is connected because leaders have to know how to lead diversity. They have to know how to lead the different generations. They have to know how to lead people who are disabled. They have to know how to lead all types of people in the workplace. So it's connected.
Okay. And if you allow me just a brief pause, we want again to invite our guests, if they want to come on and take one of the cameras and do FaceTime. We want you guys to feel free to do that. If you have questions that you just want to put in the box on the left, and we'll be sure to share that. So just want you to know you're welcome to join our broadcast. Now, people of color often feel that they do not need diversity training. And actually, you have already addressed a large part of this. So, but do you agree or disagree with their analogy? If so, why or why not?
I believe that there may be some people that believe that they don't need diversity training because they may feel like, okay, I have experienced racism. I know what it is. I don't need to go to diversity training to tell me that I need to improve in that area. So some people of color may feel that way, but then to look on the other side, you may have non-minorities that say, okay, I don't need to go to diversity training because I don't have anything going on in my life where I don't see there's any kind of problem. And so I kind of agree that people of color, sometimes they don't want to go to training because of.
Okay. And as a diversity trainer myself, Dr. Fuqua, I often have and please share with me if you've had to have these kind of conversations as well, because you've addressed that very eloquently. And I often have conversations with people of color that have expressed the same. Well, I live racism every day. I deal with this, et cetera, et cetera. However, yourself as a person that instructs diversity is that it's much deeper, is much broader, and many times there are things that even though we are, quote, as people of color in the minority, there are a lot of things that you need to learn and expand your mind. And I would just like to ask, have you encountered very many, when you're doing your trainings, have you encountered very many people of color that are and are less, may I say, are less melanated brothers and sisters that are have very adverse attitudes toward engaging in diversity trainings?
Yeah, yes, I have ran into that. And I think sometimes people react to sensitive topics related to diversity just because maybe they don't know enough about it. Maybe they're scared to even say anything because sometimes people, when they say things, they don't want to say the wrong thing. So sometimes they won't say anything at all just to kind of avoid the subject. Then you have people that they don't understand the importance of diversity. You have some people that think that there's a big change is about to happen and maybe they fear in this change. And so, I mean, I've experienced that where people just, they feel like they don't want to talk about it because, oh, this is going to cause some problems. This is going to decrease employee morale. And why are you bringing this up in the classroom? So yes, I have experienced that.
Yeah. And obviously you can see this smile on my face because that is what I run into quite often. You know, have you taught the brown eye? Have you showed the brown eye, blue eye CD to any of your people and watched their reaction?
No, I'm glad you said that. I hope to do that soon. I hope to do that soon. That's an experiment by Jane Elliott, I
Yes,
believe, in
yes,
1968. And it's called the brown eye,
yes.
blue eye, right?
And it's very
Yes, I watch it. I watch it
okay,
often.
and it's very interesting, isn't it? And I encourage people to view that video because it really shakes it really shakes shake people up, and I'm glad that you're sharing what you're sharing because it is imperative that all of us understand that diversity training really is very important, but because of stereotypes that are there. Listen, Black History Month is a perfect example of that. When many people feel that they only have people of color during Black History Month, but then that's another story. Let's move on to the next question. Now, which group of individuals have you found to be the most difficult to reach when referencing diversity? Color,
I can
less
say
melanin. Go
the
ahead.
privilege.
I'm sorry. No.
I'm
I
sorry,
was
what
just
was
saying,
that?
would it be people of color, our less melanated brothers and sisters that were most resistant?
I would say, let's put it this way. I would say it's the
Okay.
privileged
Okay.
individuals who has not experienced racism on the level that we have. And so it's hard for them to understand the importance of even addressing diversity because, like I said before, they don't see that there's a problem. And so, that's the group that I feel that's,
Most resistant. Okay. Because I really want to know, and I want our audience to know as well, because when you bring up the word diversity, and you've already addressed that, Dr. Fuqua, when you bring up that word, it does seem to cause a lot of consternation, and people become very uncomfortable. It's kind of like, and you said it. Why would you ask that question? And if I may share with you, as a fellow diversity trainer, my immediate answer is, why would I not? Because we all know what
Mhm.
situation. I must ask this question. Do you encounter individuals that say, well, that wasn't me? I wasn't around then. Why? Do you ever encounter that anytime?
Yes, I do, from maybe the
Yeah.
millenniums,
Yeah. Okay. Now listen.
because they haven't experienced
Okay.
racism on the level
Okay.
that we have. So yeah, I've heard people say
Okay.
that.
I'm going to ask this. I think you answered this already, but I'm going to ask it anyway because there's maybe some things you want to elaborate on. Have you experienced opposition among your colleagues pertaining to methodology and delivery of what can be, to some, very sensitive areas to visit when presenting on diversity? Have you? Okay.
Yes, I have.
And I don't want to. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but can you elaborate just a little bit on the kind of pushback?
Okay, so there was one individual in a leadership role. She did not want me to even get deep, I guess, deep into the
Yeah.
weeds, you could say, in regards to diversity, because she was afraid that people would get
Okay.
offended. So it could be anything that I would say about racism. Even the word racism bothered this individual because she didn't want any kind of issues. And she would always say, no, this offends people, so we have to take it out. But if you take everything out related to diversity, then you're not training anybody on diversity.
Absolutely.
And in this particular class was a class on leading diversity. So it was a group of leaders that needed to know how to lead diversity. That's important. You have to know how to lead diversity in order to even communicate effectively with them. So yes, I did run into that.
Okay. And if I might ask again, not trying to throw you under the bus, how did you come to an amicable conclusion as to what would be deleted and what would remain?
Well, I didn't delete it.
You did delete it. Okay. Okay.
No, I didn't. Okay. I didn't delete it. I didn't take out the information that was needed for the class. I just kind of addressed it in a different way. I approached it in a different manner. And so I put it on the attendees to come up with ideas in ways to kind of work through diversity issues. So they were all talking to the discussion. So they were all bringing up the discussion. So that was the thing. I had to get them to talk, get them to discuss racism, get them to discuss diversity. So that's how I fixed that problem. And so they would bring it up, and it wouldn't be me.
Just change your delivery style.
And then they was kind of feeling. I did. So I worked around it.
Listen, one of our great individuals that have joined us, Luke, and Luke is saying, I think, and it goes back to your millennial statement. Luke is saying that I think the younger people think segregation was like 1,000 years ago. Would you?
And the thing is with the millenniums, some of them, they come into the workplace and they think that and this is just a characteristics of millenniums. I can't say that everybody in the age group falls within it, but studies have shown that the ages, people will fall in certain categories, that whether they're Xers or baby boomers, but the millenniums, we can learn from them because they technological savvy, right? So we can learn from them, and they can learn from us. And all of the different generations, they can learn from each other. And my best advice to give to them is to just learn as much as you can from all the different generations, because the generations are fading out. They're retiring. Those people are retiring. They're leaving. And the more seasoned people, you need to learn certain things from them so that you can have it and you can pass it down to people that follow you. So the millenniums, I think that's a correct statement. They do think it happened thousands of years ago. So
now I'm going. Now this can be a sensitive question, Doc. This can be a sensitive question. Do you feel that with the present state of our country's divisive rhetoric, that diversity training should be elevated to our priority by those in leadership positions? Not trying to throw you under the bus. Just want to get your opinion.
No, you're not throwing me under the bus. Yes, I do. I do think that people in leadership, because if you look at leadership in most of the organizations, how does that leadership look? I mean, I can tell you what it looks like down here in South Carolina. I mean, how does it look in where you live? How does it look somewhere else? How does it look in DC? So I think it depends on where you are and who you're dealing with. But I can tell you that, yes, I would say yes. I believe that diversity training should be required.
And Doc, I'm going to pause just for a second again and invite anyone on that would like to come on and FaceTime with us. And if you have any questions for Dr. Fuqua, we're going to be talking about her book coming up here really quickly. And if you have any more questions about diversity, we have a few more that we're going to talk about and discuss. If you have some you'd like to discuss, please feel free to join in. You can use a message board that's on your laptops or your computers, or you can join in with us live and FaceTime with us. Now, some of our millennials, and you probably covered this already, but I gotta ask you, Some of our millennials vehemently dispute the idea of the need for diversity training, not realizing that they are mired in a world of inequality and cynicism due to the hue of their skin. What might you say to them?
Yeah, I did. I think I did answer that one already. I would tell them to, as like I said, learn as much as they can
Mhm.
learn.
And in your
Yeah.
time as you work with millennials, may I ask this question? And if you say no, I'm going to ask it anyway. But do you have you found that millennials are or how do I want to ask this? I want to ask this nicely. Have you found that millennials are just choosing to close their eyes to what's happening around them? Or are they truly convinced that everything is just okay? The way, I wonder about that a lot. As I said, being a diversity trainer myself, I wonder if they've just, and I'm asking you to share with me if you don't mind, your opinion. You think they've just closed their eyes to what's happening around them, or their eyes are wide open and they don't see anything wrong? I guess is what I should ask.
I don't believe that they don't think there's anything wrong. I believe that their eyes are wide open. They are aware of certain things that's going on around them. I think it's just they may have another approach at how to to handle certain situations. Because they haven't experienced the same thing that I have experienced, they may have a different perception on certain issues related to racism, diversity, or anything that they're living in a different time, so they are experiencing different things.
Okay.
And so it's going to be quite naturally that they're going to maybe respond differently to situations or
Okay.
people.
And Roxanne is saying that her youngest daughter is more diverse than her oldest. And she's saying here they are 10 years apart. And now, Roxanne, even though you didn't tell us the older daughter's age, we do understand 10 years apart. But if you care to elaborate, please feel free to come on, grab one of those spots, or if you'd like to send us a message, and let me just give a shout out to Roxanne. Glad you're here. Dre, we're glad you're here. And thanks for joining us. Now, Roxanne is saying that her children are 23 and 13, and the youngest daughter is more diverse than the oldest. What would you attribute that? I mean, as a diversity trainer, and as you've already stated, there are different conditions depending on where you are, etc. Just in your expertise, what do you think that might be attributed to?
I think that's part of their differences in age. That's 10 years apart. So she's much younger. She's probably experiencing more diverse at schools now because the society is becoming more
Hmm.
diverse than it was 20, 30, 40, 50
Hmm.
years ago. So now the schools the children are experienced, they're more, I guess, the norm, more diverse for them than your 23-year-old, even though it's only 10 years apart. That may be a difference there. The schools may have more diverse teachers in them now. So they may be teaching the students more about
Hmm.
diversity in the schools now than they were 10 years ago. So that may be a reason behind it. The reason why your youngest is more diverse than your oldest. That's my thoughts on it.
Okay. Doc, if you don't mind, will you share with us a little bit about some of our guests who weren't here when we were talking about the different aspects that you work with, and we were looking at your bio, and it was sharing about you being certified as a time to teach trainer. Can you share a little bit more with us about that and the specifics of it?
Uh, t- uh, Okay, well, time to
Yeah.
teach trainer, that's about school discipline. So what I do is I go into the schools and I will train school staff and principals on how to handle disciplinary situations. It's a preventive
Mhm.
training. It prevents students from, it's catching them before they come to school and shoot up everybody,
Okay.
basically. So it's just preventive training for
Yeah.
school
So
staff.
you're trying to short step that school to prison pipeline. In other words, well, in addition, not
Yes,
let me
yes.
rephrase that. In additional words, not other words, because what you've shared. Again, if you guys have any questions for Dr. Fuqua, please come on and ask those questions. We are now going to talk to Dr. Fuqua about her book, Secure Your Cape. That's an interesting topic. Secure your cape. Elaborate as much as you want about secure your cape. I mean, I know you don't want to give everything away, but can you talk with us a little bit about that?
Okay, well, secure your cape. I came up with this book, the thought, when I started thinking of this book, Secure Your Cape, secure. I was thinking, okay, secure. It's time for, and I speak specifically to women in this book. However, men has read this book and they like this book is for everybody. But specifically, I speak to women in this book, and it's about leadership, women being leaders. And so secure is basically taking action. That means secure your cape, take action. So once you take action, you get in flight, and I use metaphors in this book. Okay, so you secure your cape, you get in flight, meaning that you go after your goals or your desires or dreams in your life. And then I speak to how you may fly in storms, and those storms are the challenges that you need to overcome. And once you reach your destination, that doesn't mean that you're finished. It means that you get back in flight and you go after another dream. So this book is about inspiring and motivating women to attain their goals and dreams in life. And I use in this book, I have used like fictional
Mhm.
characters because when I was a little girl, I used to love Wonder Woman. That was like my favorite thing was Wonder Woman. I used to put a cape on and run through the house. And well, I didn't have a cape. I had a towel, and I secured it around my neck with a big old thick rubber band. And so, and I even put the towel over my head so that I could have the long hair, right? So I would run through the house. And then sometimes I would go on my back porch and I would jump off the porch just to try to get the real flying effect, right? See, I was been inspired by a fictional character and didn't even know it, because when I jumped off that porch, I felt so
Mhm.
powerful and I felt like I could do anything. So in life, if we secure our cape and we do things that we need to do to accomplish our goals and dreams, we'll be able to accomplish them now. But you have to have the faith, because what does the Bible say? Faith without works is dead. So you got to put the work in to be able to accomplish your goals. For example, if you want to become a
Mhm.
nurse, how about you have to go to nursing school and graduate in order to become a nurse? Because you can't just go to the hospital and become a nurse. You have the faith and that's good, but you have to put the work in, the schooling in, and you have to finish in order to do that. And so I mean, it's just a kind of a book that I speak about. Chapter 7 is my favorite chapter.
Right.
Is reaching your destination. And so I speak to your passion, how your passion is aligned to your
Right.
purpose, and how you know your purpose is, if it's a God-given gift, and you'll know it because you're good at it. Let's say that, for example, let's say that, oh, I want to sing. I think I can sing. Like when I was a little girl, I thought I was going to be on stage singing in front of everybody, right? How about I can't sing? I can sing backup, but I don't need to be in front of people. I have a passion for it, right? I have a passion for it. but it's not my gift from God because I can't bless other people with it. So I talk about passions and purposes in chapter 7. I also speak in chapter 6, I believe. I talk about how there's certain women that's flying. For example, I talk about Oprah Winfrey. Of course, she's flying. She's doing great things for everybody, men and women. And I speak to a few women about a few women in chapter 6. But this book is about motivating women to do what they need to do, because as women, from the very beginning of time, we were kind of put in the role because of Adam and Eve, right? I'm gonna go back to the Bible story, Adam and Eve, because we should all know. And so women were placed, Eve was placed in the garden to help Adam, right? She's pulled out a rib, made from his rib. And the thing is, we were helped, but I grandmothers, great grandmothers, great great grandmothers, they were the women who stayed home and took care of the children and cleaned the house while the men went out to work and earned money for the family or went and hunt the food, right? So, I mean, over the years, our role has evolved because of the different revolutions and the wars. Women were beginning to take their place. Like when the men went to war, World War II, they went out to war to fight. And some of the women had to step into some of the roles that the men held. And while they were out to war, they worked those roles. And when the men came back, some of the women didn't want to go back to their traditional roles, far as like teacher or nurses and things like that. So our role began to evolve more. And so here it is, 2019, and we are working full time. We have families, and so we should be able to, if we have dreams, we need to go after them. And what the thing is with this is that we're going to be better for our family if we're better for ourselves. If we do for ourselves, then we're going to be better for our families. We're going to be a better person for them if we're taking care of ourselves physically. So we want to make sure, I speak to that because we need to make sure as women we take care of ourselves. We get our relaxed time and then kind of rest and refresh and then get back in flight per se. So my book is out there on Amazon. Go out there. I did change the cover to red, so the cover is red now. Go out there, pick my book up, and I'm actually speaking at the Citadel Military College here in Charleston, March the 8th at a women's conference. I'm going to go speak about Secure Your Cape. And so I'm excited about that. It's an engineering conference from women.
Okay, and now where is that? Where is that going? Where are you speaking specifically? I know you stated. Will you state it again, please?
The Citadel. That's a military college here in Charleston. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And Roxanne is just sharing with us what she said. Wow, earlier, and Luke is saying great story, and Roxanne is just saying more women are declaring now running for president than there are men. So the audience certainly is fired up about what you're sharing. Now, as you share with us about Secure Your Cape, you also co-authored a book with college and university colleagues called Cultivating a Culture of Nonviolence in Early Childhood Development Centers and Schools. Will you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Basically, chapter 10. Chapter 10, because it was a group of doctors that wrote this book. And so chapter 10 is basically about the different school shootings around our country and how we as a society have to take ownership for this. It's just not one specific, everybody wants to kind of say, okay, this is a white man's issue. No, it's not a white man's issue. It's our issue. It's everybody's issue. So in that chapter, we kind of discuss school discipline. And it goes along exactly with what I'm certifying too, as preventive measures taken to prevent school shootings. So that's basically what chapter 10 is about.
Hey, very.
And it's all of our responsibility. That's very important that people understand that every time there's a school shooting, they want to put it on a Pacific race. But no, that's us. That's everybody. Like for everybody to understand, that's us. We're all in this thing together.
And that's your diversity, isn't it? That's why diversity.
Yeah.
No, seriously, that's why diversity is so important. And I'm happy to hear you sharing that, because that, as we all should know, that's where it is. Again, as we get ready to end this conversation, if we have any questions, comments that you'd like to questions you'd like to share while we have Dr. Fuqua with us, or if you have any comments that you'd like to make, we will certainly entertain those. If Dr. Fuqua has been very entertaining, and we do thank you for sharing with us and giving us that information. If you will, you alluded earlier, if you will repeat again how they can get copies of Secure Your Cape.
At Amazon.com. Just type in the title or type in my name, Dr. Deborah Fuqua.
Okay. So you guys get that. You can go to Amazon.com, and Roxanne is saying thank you. So hopefully, obviously, we was able to bring something forward that Roxanne enjoyed what you were sharing, how you were carrying. So as we end this segment, as I said before, our great friend Dr. Vibe has a segment coming at 8 o'clock, and we want to end this so we can get over and support him. But let me say to each and every one of you that are here, it's been extremely refreshing to have you here with us, and hopefully you'll return next week, actually Friday. Well, he's a local guy. You guys are international. I call you international if you're not local. But we have Doug Williams, who's the first African-American quarterback to win a Super Bowl. As we talk about diversity, we have another young man whom I had the pleasure of coaching, Dunny Little, who was the first African-American quarterback at the University of Texas. Now, if you have any history about Texas, you're talking about a place that needs diversity, even in modern time. That's Texas. And this was way back like in the mid 1970s when he was a trailblazer. Then we have Miss Cortina Jackson, who's also a writer and an actress. She'll be with us. Those that are in education, if you are familiar with Dr. George McKenna III, most of you may have heard of Joe Clark and Lean on Me. Dr. McKenna, we did this. We had the same thing happen in Los Angeles. Denzel Washington played the part of Dr. McKenna, who was my boss. So we have some interesting, and we just had Friday the Rose and Raymond Parks Institute co-founder, which was Ms. Elaine Steele, and we also had Lieutenant Colonel Billy Graham, who was a Vietnam pilot. So anyway, sometime if you're not doing anything, come back and join us. Check the schedule and see who we have. But let me tell you how to contact me. The Nobody Asked Me guy is a former educator. I'm a former NFL player. I do a lot of diverse things with sports, with individuals. We dabble in a lot of things. So if you were to go to my website, www.dyingonmyfeet.com, then you can find me there, www.dyingonmyfeet.com. You'll see that I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm a weekly columnist for the Good Men Project. I write for several magazines. My latest book will debut on Mother's Day, called Mother's Day 2019, called Mothers and Their Smen, an introspective look at mothers rearing sons. As we know, there's a lot of conversation out there about women rearing sons. My present book right now that's on the market, it's called Dying on My Feet. I'm a acute promyelocytic leukemia survivor. I was given zero chance to survive. And as you see, I'm sitting here talking to you. And that was 28 years ago. So if you get the opportunity to go to Barnes and Nobles, look up Melvin Lars. The book is called Dying on My Feet, My Journey Times 2. And Mothers and Their Smen will not debut. Well, thank you. Mothers and Their Smen will not debut until Mother's Day of this year. I'm also a poet. I have 4 poetry books that have been published. My latest is called Mind Muscle. And it's called Mind Muscle as Dr. Fuqua is talking about diversity, is because I was always offended when people referred to me as a student athlete, and then that's another show, because I felt that even though they were allegedly being complimentary. When you study the history of a student athlete, it had nothing to do with your academic prowess. It was all about an insurance claim that was filed. So I did that. My book, Mind Muscle, has been compared many times to Maya Angelou and to Langston Hughes, two poets of whom I admire greatly. So with that, the Nobody Asked Me guy is very, very happy and very pleased that you have joined us tonight. And if you go to www.dyingonmyfeet.com, you will find all of my other social media outlets right there. So feel free to contact me at any time. So have a blessed evening. We're very happy that you're here again. We want to thank Dr. Fuqua, Dr. Deborah Fuqua.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a
Go out and
pleasure.
get her.
It was a pleasure. Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very much,
Lars.
Doctor. We want you to go out and get her book, Secure Your Cape, because I have to agree with that gentleman that said to you is for men as well. I mean, after you start to explain to us what that book was about, it most certainly is very inspiring just from what you've explained already. So we want to encourage the men as well. So with that, we're going to bid you adieu and thank you very much for joining us. Have a great evening.
Thank you for having me. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.